When I was a teenager, around 16, 17 years old, I was already in the more senior group. We used to call ourselves the generals. One of the things we were most known for really was train robbing. We would drive down to the tram station in a couple of vans, armed with hammers, knives, machetes, and we would basically stick up the whole train. The other world is so far away at that point, you don't see an alternative, because the alternative will be to transform yourself to such an extent that you won't be yourself. I remember being excited. What I did know was that this was a place that was much richer than where I came from. My parents, they had several jobs throughout the day. Cleaning offices, cleaning houses, that's how they survived. And so actually my sister was in charge of really looking after us. Where the culture shock came was the language. In school, I was usually put in the lowest bands. You can imagine the majority of the people in those classes were kids like me from the local council estates and a lot of migrants from everywhere, really. Most of the teachers we had were substitute. It felt that they were just babysitting us. I don't really remember having any particular aspirations, really. I guess the priority quickly became one, I would say, of survival. There was definitely an atmosphere where you always had to have your guard up. Older kids would try and make me a victim and steal my money or steal my belongings from my bags. And so we formed a group of kids who lived in the area. We would walk together to and from school. Eventually we were so close we'd stay in each other's houses as if we were family. We'd even share clothes. To begin with, it was quite innocent, and it was just a group of kids who have come together to protect themselves. But eventually, because of the different kids who, by extension, would have older brothers or other friends who were getting involved in certain things, we started doing some of those things too. I could speak for myself and my friends. The majority of us were deeply affected by the things we were doing. But there were rewards to it. I had access to material things that I didn't grow up being able to have. Even if I didn't understand it explicitly in terms of structural violence, you can see the disparities between how certain people live and how you live. Being able to take something from someone and them not being able to do anything to you for it, I guess gave us a sense of power. It gives you the feeling that you do have some control over your life, and not only that life is happening to you. There's a particular event that changed the course of my life, and it starts with a guy who had just come out of prison. He's like the neighborhood bully. My friend was going out with somebody who this guy wanted to be with, so he would stand outside my friend's house and constantly harass him and throw stones at his windows. And so I get a phone call from my friend, and he's asking me, what are we gonna do about it? And what can we do about it? I called my friends, my gang, and they said, yeah, we'll come. But my gang isn't from this area. I made the mistake of calling one of my other friends on the estate. I said to him, listen, something's gonna go down, you need to stay at home. What ended up happening was that he warned everybody on the estate they were gonna defend the neighborhood bully. So when my people arrived, they were ready. It was total chaos that night. It felt like a war zone. My friend that I was defending had his fingers chopped off. My house became like an infirmary. Stab wounds and wounds to the head where they had been hit with hammers. That same night, I had police come to my house. They told me and my parents that I needed to leave the estate. After that night, there was reprisals, and the police with the council moved my family from the area as well. When the panic attacks began, I had no idea what was going on. I had dreams of being in danger, my life being threatened. For a long time, I felt like I didn't want to leave the house. Slowly, gradually, I started getting out of that, and I felt that I could start afresh. I went to college and did really well. But at that point, I felt that the only way I could make a difference was going around schools and giving presentations to children who were at risk of joining gangs. The organization wanted me to make it very personal, encouraging them to think positively, and through discipline, you'll be able to find yourself a good career and so on. What does that do to a young, working class, racialized kid who, in all areas of their lives, they're being told that you're the problem? In hindsight, I would talk to them about their class. I think by doing that, you put them in a historical context. They'll understand it because they experience the symptoms and the conditions firsthand. I think that could be channeled into organized political thought and organized political behavior. The most oppressed and the most exploited in society are usually the most willing to achieve a more thorough transformation of society. We have to listen to the voices of these young people living in impoverished conditions, telling them how to organize themselves politically so they can take action to end the conditions that they live in.